Welcome to attaching actors to components. In this video, we're going to do what it says on the tin. We're going to spawn an actor and have it attached to their grip socket that we have on our first person character. So that basically what we've got here is a setup that if I eject and have a little look at it, we've got our first person actor, but also we have a gun actor, which is completely separate, but is childed to a component inside our first person character, which allows the gun to essentially move around with that component. Isn't that cool? So we are going to find out how to do that in this lecture. So let's dive right in. So now that we have our gun class, the next thing is for us to be able to actually create an instance of that gun actor and put it in the right place, that is in the player's hands. Now obviously the right component to be creating this is going to be the first person character, and so let's go to our C++ classes, to our player, and open up that first person character in Visual Studio. Now what we want to do is basically all these places where we previously had a reference and did something with this FP gun, we want to be doing something with an instance of that actor instead. Now, how do we create an instance of this actor? Well, you've done it before and you're going to be doing it again. What I would like you to do is create a variable, a blueprint variable, which tells you what the type is, and then go back and reference your battle tank. So I've happen to have battle tank here up in the Unreal course. And if we have a look, I think it's the aiming component that is responsible for this. If we have a look at spawn, there you go. We've got get world, spawn actor, and then it's a generic method, so it takes the type of that actor, and then it also takes in the actual blueprint type itself. So we can basically put in a different type of blueprint, and we can put in our socket location, rotation, blah, blah, blah. Now, what I actually want you to do is create this, but then also to do the attachment that was already going on in Visual Studio. So if we go to Visual Studio and have a look at our first person character, I actually happen to have two instances of Visual Studio open here. I'm going to close one of them. Now, the second instance, I'm going to go and have a look at our begin play method. Here it is. So you've got an attached to component. In actual fact, both actors and components have this method, so you can attach an actor to a component and use the same grip point attachment rules as you did here, and it'll work just like that. So in this case, C++ is way more powerful than Blueprint because you can actually attach things, actors, spawn them and attach them in. In Blueprint, you'd have to use something called a child actor component, and it can be really hairy and not at all nice. So we're going to go ahead and be using C++ for this bit just because it's much better tuned for it. And, well, basically I'm going to leave the rest up to you. So challenge time. I'd like you to spawn and attach. So create a variable for the gun blueprint for us to be able to set that in the first person blueprint. Then spawn an instance of it using that knowledge you have from Battle Tank. Attach the instance to the grip socket using that method that's basically already there. And what else needs connecting? I'm going to leave that up to you, but I'd like you to see what else you're going to connect. So pause the video and have a go at this refactor challenge. Okay, welcome back. Let's give it a shot. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and create a blueprint. And I'm going to basically, I think, create a blueprint for a U class. Let's just jog our memories and see how this was done in Battle Tank. So let's try and find our aiming component.h. So tank aiming component.h. Obviously, you can go ahead and look within GitHub as well if you don't have that project still available on your computer. So I'm going to make sure it's file name, colon, so I can literally find it by file name. There we go. And I'm going to look for the keyword blueprint, which is everywhere, but at least it highlights a few things. And here we go. This is what I want. I want a subclass of a projectile. So let's copy that. I don't actually want it to be a subclass of a projectile in this case, but nonetheless, we will start there and work our way up. So I'm going to put this as a public property. Edit defaults only. This seems about right. However, the only thing is we don't want this to be a projectile, but rather a gun. A gun we are going to forward declare. So class a gun. And instead of projectile blueprint, we'll call this gun blueprint. And we're going to create also a gun variable, which I think in this case we probably want to be private. So I'm going to make sure we have a private section if we don't already, which I don't think we do. And I'm going to go ahead and make a gun pointer to just call it gun. Simple as that. And we're going to obviously be setting this gun in here in begin play. So let's go ahead and do that. So gun equals, what is it going to equal? If we go and have a look at our GitHub again, we should be able to find that spawn call. Right, so get world spawn actor. Let's do that. And I might need to build to get autocomplete to catch up with me. It doesn't seem to be building because I have the wrong Visual Studio open. Let's go ahead and close all of my Visual Studios and open the first person character again. So we seem to be having some problems loading Visual Studio there, so I just cut out for a second and let it go ahead and do this from the file system instead. So let's open up our gun CPP, no, in fact our first person character CPP, and take off where we left off. So go back to our begin play, and in here we're going to do spawn actor. And I can use my generics to do it of type A gun. Now the very specific type is going to be the gun blueprint. And then we've got basically our transform rules, which I don't particularly care about because we're about to attach it and give it some transform rules. So let's do that. Let's uncomment our FP gun line and replace it with gun. And you'll see that attached to component works in exactly the same way. So let's build and make sure this is the case. Now we do seem to be getting an error, so let's check that out. Pointer to incomplete class is not allowed. So obviously what I'm going to have to do is import a gun here in my C++. So let's do an include ... weapons gun.h, and now try building again. So obviously when it says incomplete class, what it actually means is that you've done a forward declaration and you haven't in the C++ brought in the full file to give it a full idea of what that class is. Okay, our build succeeded, and let's just check it out and go and play in the world. If I hit play, then everything crashes. Why would that be? Well, funnily enough, it might well be because our gun blueprint is null. So let's just check that out. If gun blueprint equals null, and let's make sure we're typing blueprint correctly. And if this is the case, then I am going to return from this method, but I'm also in the process going to do a UE log. Now, UE logs are always a pain, so I'm going to do a find in the solution for it and try and get an example of a UE log. Oh, I actually want to do that find within the project rather than within the solution, so let's just change that drop down. Stop find, find all, and I'll just take this warning log here and pop it into our first person character CPP. Now that warning's obviously going to be different. I'm going to say gun blueprint missing and hit build again and go over and open up our testing grounds project. Since the editor has crashed, we have to bring it up again. And now let's hit play. Funnily enough, it does still fail. Now, where is this happening? We can see it in A actor attached to component. So that does seem to be a bit of a problem. So have we done our if statement correctly? Well, we haven't finished building yet. So let's let it finish building at least in order to know whether we're doing the right thing or not. Let's go ahead and hit play. And we're not getting any gun, but that's to be expected because we don't have a blueprint. Let's just check that we've got our gun blueprint warning. Yes, we do. Let's go and go into our player blueprint under player behavior, first person character. And there we should be able to find on our first person character. I would expect to find a gun blueprint variable here. So I'm just going to search for it, gun blueprint. Sure enough, it is there. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and get our blueprint version, which is the one at the top, the one with a little circle, compile, and hit play. Funnily enough, we still don't have that gun. Let's eject, and aha, it's currently invisible to us. If I hit play and eject again, F8, there we go. We can see that it's not actually currently rendering for us. And the reason for that, if we go over to the first person character, note the gun CPP, and take a look at our FP gun mesh, you can see it says set owner only visible. True. We don't want that. Let's remove that line and compile. Head back into Unreal. Stop. And wait for the compile to finish so we can play again. And let's try that out. Okay, still an issue. Let's go ahead and search for owner visible on this gun. Still seems to be set to true, so I wonder why that hasn't been updated. It may well be that the blueprint has cached it, so if we go to our weapon, gun, open that up, open full blueprint editor, go to our components tab and select the gun, and let's just stop playing there and have a look at the owner only. No, that's not set. So this is starting to look a little bit dodgy. Let's hit play. Funnily enough, it does seem to be that the owner is not being set. I'm going to make sure that all these blueprints are recompiled and saved. So the first person character, let's compile and save that. The gun, save and compile, and hit play. We're still getting the wrong sort of behavior, so this is very peculiar indeed. Let's check which class we've got for our gun blueprint. So we've got a gun, and then the gun, there's two guns there. Set none. I'm going to try clearing that gun blueprint and selecting again. It does seem like that first one is pointing to our blueprint class. And if I open up the blueprint class, go to the FP gun, there we go, at last. We've got that we need to reset to default to get our own owner only C. So for some reason, sometimes that can get cached in the blueprint. So we can go back and hit play. And now at last we can see our gun, but we can't fire it. So we're going to have to do some hooking up. And this video is currently getting long enough. So what we're going to do is going to cover the hooking up in the next video. So I'll see you there.